Welcome to the Employee to Boss podcast, a podcast for everyone with an entrepreneurial spirit. Every week, I am joined by successful guests in all different industries and stages of business who will share what their experience was like transitioning from employee to boss. This is a resource for you if you're wanting to start a business, go all in on your side hustle, get to the next level, or just hear what it's like taking the leap to becoming your own boss. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, the owner of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast production agency specializing in editing, marketing, and strategy. Let's dive into today's topic. Hey, Natalia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so excited for you to be back on the Employee to Boss podcast. I was just trying to think if anyone has been a guest twice, and I think you might be the first one to come back on the podcast. So
Oh,
welcome.
thank
You were
you.
episode 50. It's titled Dating as an Entrepreneur with women's dating and relationship expert, Natalia. So you're back, and we're talking about business, ambition, still dating, of course. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about. So why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about what's been going on since the last episode?
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. A lot has been going on. I believe since 2022, the biggest highlights probably, besides, this year having three of my clients getting actually married. They met their fiancés while being coached by me. And a couple of years went by, and now they are getting married. And also, another thing that is happening right now as we speak that is super exciting because it's new. It's all my current clients have left dating apps are in relationships.
Oh my
So
gosh, that's huge.
great, because all of them. I always have one that is still trying, but so this is a very special moment. Uh, I am in awe with all of you ladies doing the work, doing the hard work, keeping a growth oriented mindset, keeping your energy high, and tapping into a different model of doing this thing called love that is more inclined into feminine energy and surrendering control and things that really, as badass business owners, entrepreneurs, we are not trained on that on school or even in our houses. Most of us have been trained on go get it, do your best, get a degree. Some of my clients tell me that they were even educated, get a degree. So when you get divorced, you are not, left with nothing. And I think, wow, we don't think about those things. I mean, when we are teenagers, they are already telling us, get a degree. So when you get divorced, it's not even an if or, it's just so normal right now for relationships to not work, and how we are kind of in an unconscious way prepared for that. So I think it's really important to have these kind of conversations where we see the possibility, and that it doesn't have to happen like that. It's not a death sentence. It's not like
Yeah.
you have to go through that. There are other ways of doing things, and I appreciate women like you that are supporting this kind of work, that believe in love, that believe in men, that believe in your possibility and your desire. Because I don't know if you knew this, but 10%, only 10% of the women, of the people doing the work, are the ones changing the world.
Hmm.
So it doesn't take 100% of the population, it takes just 10% to change the whole paradigm of what anything is. In this case, we are talking about love, but with your business, you talk about communication and podcast and how to express your voice and your message to the masses. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't really take a lot of women to change how relationships are. And I always tell my clients that if we do transform the way we relate and what we believe about men, about love, about what is possible or not for us, men are going to have to step up to the game because they're not going to get away anymore with whatever they're getting away now. So I think, I don't know, I digress. I don't know if
No, I love that. I think that's so interesting. And one thing I love about you and your business is you really do lead by example. I mean, you always tell how you went on 200 first dates before you met your husband, right? And so when you're telling your clients to go date, it's not like you have been married since you were 18 and like to the first guy you ever dated, right? Like you
no,
really you did the work yourself that you can now coach your clients on.
actually it's so I don't know, paradoxical. I don't know what word to use, being honest. Maybe you help me and find the word, but it's so strange in a way that I am doing this kind of work, that I am dedicating my whole life to help women to find and create true love with a great guy, when I myself never even thought about getting married until I got married the first time. This is my second marriage, but it wasn't something that I particularly wanted to do. It wasn't something that I didn't want to do either. It wasn't there pretty much. It was like I was so into business, adventures, traveling the world, just discovering who I was. I just had this, that I still keep this deep curiosity for everything. And I was trapped so in that paradigm of getting to know myself and know the world and what I was capable, and climbing all the mountains, the physical mountains, the inner mountains, the spiritual mountains, that I never really thought about getting married, and I never had that dream. I was in relationships. I had my first boyfriend when I was 19. And when I moved to college, I met this guy and we became boyfriend and girlfriend for many years. And I had other boyfriends, but I'm not proud of saying this, but maybe some women can relate. They were there because pretty much they asked me to be their girlfriend. And it felt very safe for me to have a man with me. I felt like they were keeping me because of my curiosity, and I am so courageous and I do everything. I'm like crazy like that. I always felt like they were keeping me more grounded, but I never really wanted to be in a relationship until I got married. Then I think I was 30, probably. I got married to a guy, and that didn't work. It lasted a very short period of time. It lasted only 2 years, 3 years. But that experience was what made me realize how much I like to be a wife, how much I like to play house and, do all the things with the husband and decorate and cooking together, the going to bed at night together every day. I fell in love with it, and I said, okay, when that didn't work, that I think I tell my story in episode 50, when I promised myself that I was going to learn what it takes to be really successful in love and relationships. It came from that lived experience of, from a bad experience, you could say, in many ways. This seed was planted inside of me of like, oh, I want to do this. And that's when I set on doing the work myself and then helping other women to create the same. Then I met my husband and I have been married. I have been with him for, I think we're going on 18 years now, a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a long time. I think that's so great. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I'm curious because I see a lot of love coaches pop up here and there, a lot of like ones that focus on women, ones that focus on men, and then obviously there's like actual couples therapists, right? There's a lot of different things in the world of love that is being portrayed to us. What do you think it takes to be a love coach?
That's a great question. And I think it takes, above all, a deep desire of becoming the best coach, the best holding space for other human being from a place of being empathetic and compassionate, but at the same time holding the truth. And it's not easy to do at all. I have to say, I was trained as a psychotherapist when I was from age 18 to 24. That's what I did. So I didn't just become a coach from nothing, which
Right.
helped me a lot, because on social media it can look very fun. It can look, like, oh, I want to do that. I could do that. It's real life coaching. When I am really dealing with my clients, they carry a lot. It's not as simple as saying, do this, do that. No, there is a lot of trauma that comes from, sometimes from early childhood, sometimes it comes from when they were teenagers. And those unresolved traumas are informing what they are experiencing right now and what they are creating right now, and how much they can follow the coaching or not.
Yeah.
So it's really, really, it's not easy. It takes a lot of talent, it takes a lot of experience, and it takes a lot of training. It's just, I hear sometimes, um, like, I'll give you an example. One of my business coaches from many years ago, she's a business coach and she's great. I love her. I love her. Okay, she's awesome, awesome, awesome. And she couldn't find a man. She just couldn't, and that was a recurring thing in her life. Very successful on her business, and but she'll go on dates, and all the dates will end up bad. A year ago, she met a guy and she got married, and now she's in love, and now she's claiming that she could be a dating coach. And I understand how she feels like she could be a good dating coach, but it doesn't happen like that. It just doesn't happen like that. It takes a lot of training, a very particular kind of talent, because the challenges, one thing is to coach a woman. And I know, because I used to be a high performance coach at some point in my
Hmm.
life, and I have been coached. I have spent multiple six figures in coaches myself, for my business, for my own healing, for everything, pretty much, for my health. So it's not the same when a business coach tells me, okay, show me your website. And I show them my website, and they say, well, it sucks. You need to change this, you need to change that, you need to change that. You are not clear. They, all the things that they tell you, and you're like, okay, I'll do it. I'll change it. I'll get deeper into my purpose and my vision. And there is no, generally, there is no taking it personal. There is not shame on us. For most of us, there is no like, oh my god, I hate you, you are,
Hmm.
none of that. For my kind of coaching, you can do that. You
Yeah.
can do that. If I am coaching a woman and I realize that, that she wants this great relationship, I help her create her vision, and then she's chasing married men. I can tell her, hey, what are we doing here? Most of them are going to take it personal. They are going to feel judged. They're going to feel hurt. They're going to tell me, hey, Natalia, I prefer you when you're sweet. So
Right.
it takes a very, very different kind of skill. As I said, it takes talent. I have always been like this. I grew up in a family where I was a middle child, and I grew up in chaos. I was constantly watching for the next shoe to drop every day, and from either my parents and my sisters. And so I grew up being the mediator. I grew up being the pacifier. I grew up being the one that was always, like, okay, we are going to move this direction, or come here, let's do that, or okay, take some time. I was always the one. I started chanting and meditating as I remember when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
Okay, so it's a whole life. And regarding the differences, there are differences between what one coach or therapist does, the approach.
Right.
My approach had changed over the years. When I was in my 20s, it was all about science and psychology and the mind and Sigmund Freud, Jung, the philosophers. Because that was my life as a psychologist, and I love that. But then when I was about 24, I got deep into Eastern philosophy. I got a teacher and I got initiated by two different gurus between age 24 and 32. So I really got in touch with all the meditation and the Eastern philosophies that are very different than the Western philosophies that I had learned. So I started to incorporate that. And then I moved to the States, and here I got in touch with all the neuroscience. And my work is more holistic because I have studied so many different things, and every client is different. So some clients, they can hear me from one approach, some clients can hear me from another approach, and I use them. I
Mhm.
tell, sometimes I tell the same things but in a different way, or I ask, the questions have the same intention behind, but they are in a language that they can hear me. Some people use the attachment styles. There is a lot of
Yeah.
people doing the attachment styles, and that's because it's a very simple theory that it's very easy to explain, and people grab it like that. But the main purpose that absolutely every single of the colleagues that I have had the pleasure to meet and know, more than 200 at this point, it's the same, is to make people more secure, more emotionally attuned, and more confident, and to tap into their worth, into their self-love. So when all those components come together, you are a secure human being. There is a book, it's a very good book actually, that a lot of people love, that is called, I think it's called Why Men Love Bitches. Have you
Oh,
heard?
yeah. Yeah.
So that book can be controversial to some people, even the
Sure.
name, the title. But
Mhm.
really, when you read the book, it's all about becoming a secure woman.
Yeah.
The things that the author is teaching there, it's not about being a bitch in the negative way that people, that word has that connotation, bitch
Sure.
usually. It's about being a secure, confident, self assured, with healthy boundaries woman. So that's the thing that, I think we are all using different tools, but the main goal is to help people to be more secure and confident, and embrace who they really are.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to really attract your man, is if you can be authentically who you are as your highest self.
No, that's so interesting. And the reason I was asking was because I see so many love coaches pop up here and there, and like I know some of them, and I know I'm like, this is not a person that I would necessarily think would be qualified to teach
Mhm.
someone how to love. So that I like that a large part of it is holding space for your
Yeah.
clients and meeting them where they're at. We work together.
Hmm.
You work with a lot of ambitious women. I'm wondering how you help them balance that ambition because ambition can be connected to masculine energy. And I think my masculine energy definitely helps me have a successful business, right? But how What advice do you have for the listeners who might be like, same, me too?
Well, the thing with masculine energy and feminine energy is that we have both. It's not a gender thing. We have both. We have feminine energy and masculine energy. And for example, I had this client once, and I was coaching her, and I was coaching her in trying to see how being in her feminine energy has helped her to be who she is today, and how being in her masculine energy has helped her be who she is today. And so her answer was, "Oh, I'm great with my feminine energy. I love it. It's who I am, and I'm good." But and she said it as a badge of honor, as if I was gonna clap to her. She's like, "And I am not in my masculine energy at all." And I said, "Okay, good." I said, thank you for answering me. So I said, "And how not being in your masculine energy at all has affected your life?" And that's when she shared with me that she lacks structure, that she had been trying at that time to make her business successful, and she couldn't. And so it's not that they are contrary or that they antagonize each other. It's more like when it's about being clear of the law of polarity to begin with, that love, as we know, doesn't have logic. Love, no, we cannot make anybody love us. We cannot make anybody like us. This is for a man. This is for a friend. This is even for a dog. I mean, it happens or it doesn't happen. That is something that the reasons are evolutive. They are embedded in evolutive psychology, and I can talk more about that, but that's maybe in another episode. But there are reasons why we just cannot make anybody love us. They either love us or they don't. But the funny part is that we can do a lot of things for people to not love us.
Sure.
Okay? So how love works, the only guideline that we can have with romantic love, I am talking about, because there are different kinds of love. Okay, there is love as the spiritual, thing that we are all loved, we are loved. We can get very woo woo about that, but when it comes to romantic love, there is a law that we can use. It's a law of nature. And what this law says is that for something to work, there has to be two parts to it, like two different energies. That love is an energy. Like, for example, we have the day and we have the night. We cannot have the night without the day. We have the cold and we have the warm. We have the yin, we have the yang. All those are there to allow us in this human experience to experience beautiful things and different things. So for love, we call it feminine energy and masculine energy, and that's the law of polarity. When we decide to find our true love, it's important to ask ourselves what kind of energy we want to predominantly be in the relationship. Because even if you are a woman or if he is a man, you may choose to be in your masculine energy and he may choose to be in his feminine energy. I went to a retreat this past weekend, and one of the it was a women's retreat, and one of the speakers, she shared a beautiful picture of her husband. She has been happily married to this guy. She is an 8 figures earner. Okay, she owns 7 business powerhouse.
Wow.
She showed a picture of her husband, really handsome guy with 4 dogs, and he's a stay-home dog dad.
Amazing.
To each their own. he is the feminine energy predominantly in the relationship, and she is the masculine energy predominantly. What matters is that you know who you are and what makes you tick and what makes you feel good. And I think this is something very different with my coaching than many other people that I have many other of my colleagues, that I really don't have an agenda regarding what your relationship has to look like. That's not my point.
Yeah.
That is your point to decide.
Right.
What I mean by you, I mean us, women. That's
Yeah.
our point to decide how I want my relationship to look like and feel like. How do I want my experience in that relationship to be? And then commit to that and
Yeah.
create an identity that will support you into achieving that, pretty much.
Totally.
So, answering your question, if you have been using your masculine energy in your business, it's great. It's actually smart. There are a lot of coaches that are teaching feminine energy for businesses, and I cringe because you need a structure for a business. If you want to be really successful, you need a structure. You know, it gets huge. You eventually you get employees, you have a payroll. It's not, you do need to use logic and goals and a more like black and white orientation and a win and lose orientation and all the things that are characteristics of the masculine energy. But when it comes to your romantic relationship, that's when you have to kind of decide, get to know yourself and see if you want to be the one that when you get home after slaying the dragon, if you want to get home and still be slaying the dragon and
Mm.
still being the decision maker and still deciding, having to take care of everything, planning the vacation, buying the tickets, buying the house, rearranging the mortgage, deciding everything, being the thinker, the logic person, where your emotions really don't have much room, and being with a man that is going to be more emotional, that is going to be more in the feeling side, that is going to be more into adding colors to the house and textures and bringing that playfulness, that easiness, that nurturing part. So, and I always say this word, and it's a very important word, is predominantly. It doesn't mean that you have to choose one or the other. It's most of the time. So that's your decision to make. And then, once you go ahead and you try. And you may find out, like a friend of mine that just got divorced, that she thought she wanted to have the stay at home dog dad as a husband, and she realized after less than a year that
Interesting.
that sounded really good in theory, but no.
Yeah. Yeah.
She
Yeah.
wants to be the badass in the business, and she wants a badass man with masculine energy.
Totally.
So sometimes, what we think, but
Yeah.
you try. And you
Yeah.
try, and you see what works for you. Now, doing the work with an expert, with a coach, with a therapist will really help you to get very clear about these things, so you don't waste time. Because sometimes, depending on your age, are also the timelines, and you know what I'm going to say now because we work together. But if you are like you on your 20s or early 30s and you want to have kids, you have to be very intentional with
Hmm.
how you are dating, who you are dating, because you don't want to, or maybe you do, but most women don't want to reach 40 something and then doing IVF, freezing their eggs. All that again sounds really good on social media, but when it comes to the experience is not as it's not pleasant at all. So if you can avoid those things, um,
Totally.
you
Yeah.
see. So
Yeah. I mean, that's so interesting too, because like I said, I'm very ambitious in my business, but whenever I do my visualization, I always envision like having a team and having a partner and spending more time with that partner.
Mm.
And I have team members now, which is great. I just hired a second one, which like a virtual assistant, which I'm excited about. But I think all these things are important because I in my head, when I envision having this big successful business, I always have a partner who's like grounding me in a way
Right,
and also helping me delegate more because if I'm working every day, all day, like I am today, this is like my ninth call of the day. Like I've had so many calls, but I couldn't do this if I was like married with children. Ideally not, you know? So I think
right.
it pushes me to be bigger, honestly. It pushes me to like have bigger goals and like more successful or not just more confident in investing in a team and things like that. Like
Right.
for me personally.
Right. I think it's about believing, having a desire, and really, really nurturing that desire and believing that you can make it happen. And then the feminine energy is when how it comes into play. One of the things that we do as feminine energy women, as empowered feminine energy women, I would say, is we harness energy. You know, it's called magic. If you go to the dictionary, it's called magic. We create magic. So we harness the energy of the universe. We don't. One of the signs of the disempowered feminine energy is that she believes she's isolated. She believes that she's alone in the world and she has to do it all on her own. That's not being in your masculine energy. That's being in your disempowered feminine energy. It's a big difference. So aligning with the healthy, empowered feminine energy means I am not alone. The universe is conspiring for me to create this, and I can let go of the how to, the why, the how, the when. I just have to align to my North Star, to my desire, and start becoming that woman that is embodying the character traits that can create that. And then the right man will show up because you will be open to it. The right
Mm,
team will show up because you are open to it. You can see it. Because when you believe in something, you're going to be looking for evidence of those things. But if I am in the disempowered feminine, in the shadow side of the feminine energy, and I feel nobody wants to buy what I have, or nobody wants me, or nobody will ever love me, or I will never be able to have kids and have a business, they're separated, and all that, that is going to create an embodiment inside of us that will actually create character traits that will look for evidence for that. So, in a
mm,
nutshell, whatever you believe, truly believe, is what is going to happen. That's it.
yeah.
There is, it's just what it is. We don't live our life from the outside in, as we have the tendency to believe. We live the world from the inside out. For somebody, winning the lottery means winning the lottery, hitting the jackpot, and for somebody else, winning the lottery means that they all of a sudden they lose ties with all their family because they're all coming and asking them for money, or getting into an addiction that ends up in suicide. Who knows? So it's not really the events. And this Aristotle said this. It wasn't me, but he said something like it's not the events that shape our life, it's the meaning that we give to those events. So we have to be really careful with the words we speak to ourselves because those words matter.
Mm,
So if you have a desire inside of you that you want to have a family, you want to leave legacy through at least one kid, and have a husband, you just have to nurture that desire. It's like a garden. You plant the seed and then you take care of the weeds. You know, you if I don't know, if a cat comes and poo-poos in your garden, you compose that poo-poo and create fertilizer with it, you know? It's all about the feminine energy, is a lot about that. It's about we have that power of harnessing the energy. The thing is that unfortunately, a lot of the world, it's very disempowering. So that's what happens. You probably know it, that we have this desire and this belief, and we do the work and blah, blah, blah. And then we get into the world and we find out a bunch of disempowered people. And so that's the work, is how do I keep cultivating my garden even though the birds are going to come and try to steal my seeds, even though sometimes it's not going to rain for a while.
Yeah,
You see?
totally. Yeah. I mean, I've loved this conversation so much. And I think for anyone who's interested in working with you or a love romantic coach, how do you work with your clients?
I do have a program. It's called the Epic Love Accelerator. I have put over 100 women through that program as of today. It's a 12-week program and it's private coaching, which there is not a lot of coaches doing private coaching anymore. They do group coaching.
Yeah.
I do believe in one-on-one coaching because it's love is very nuanced, and my experience with group coachings is that unless you are a really, it's very easy to hide, pretty much. And because this particular topic of love will force us to really see inside and to see the deep things that we don't want to see, it's easy to hide and to let the other people doing the work, and I will just show up and listen. While if it's one-on-one, there is nowhere to hide. And that's why my results, my success results are so high. It's because keep them accountable. So yeah, that's
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'll put information about that in the show notes. But
yeah.
yeah, I think this is such an interesting topic that you're going to have to come back for a part three on. I mean, the first time we talked about dating, now we're talking about more of like the business, feminine, all these sides of things. But the last question I ask all of my guests, and I have your last ones pulled up here, and I bet yours are going to be very different now. But the last question I ask all of my guests is to share three action steps for the audience to take based on this conversation. So, just like both of us know, you can listen to a bunch of podcast episodes or read a ton of books, but unless you take action, nothing happens. So, what are your three action steps? Let's like do a relationship version of it.
I would say write yourself a love letter and just tell yourself who you are. Start small if you cannot go big, or maybe go big, go huge. You know, even if you think you are a 10 out of 10, just celebrate that. Celebrate the 1 out of 1, 10 out of 10. I think that's very important to just love ourselves. It keeps us from overgiving, which it's pandemic.
Yes.
And so write yourself a love letter. I would say if you can, make yourself a green juice with ginger. I love them. And so drink that because it's going to make you feel good. And then I would say text or call somebody that you love, maybe somebody from your childhood that made a big difference. I remember I did that. I try to do it all the time, but the first time I did it, I called my aunt like 20 years ago. It was a long time ago, and I called my aunt and I just told her, the difference that she made in my life growing up, going to her farm and making ice cream from
Aw,
scratch, and it felt so good. So tell somebody that you love them and the difference that made in your life,
I
because
love
life is
that.
very short. It's
Yeah,
very short, and I think it's it's important to appreciate others and to love ourselves, and drinking good juices feel good, no?
Yes. Okay, I love it. I love it. Do you want to hear your ones from last time?
Oh my God, what did I say?
Okay, so last time you said, get clear and get rid of the noise that's surrounding you.
Okay,
Okay, so online or in line. And then you said, be more conscious about how you use technology and start a hobby, which I
okay,
think is a great advice. And then
yes.
your last one was spend more time in nature to get rid of stagnant energy.
Well, I think they were great because we were coming out of the sea, the
Yeah, yeah,
sea. So get out and get out of technology. That's
totally.
great. I love that,
I
Haley.
know. I like it.
You're incredible. Oh my God. You have the
Well,
answers.
no, this was so fun, and I love the work that you're doing, and that's so exciting to hear that all of your clients are in relationships and getting amazing results. Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.